Welcome to the Nonprofits and Media Podcast, where we talk to leaders involved with media inside a variety of nonprofit organizations about the different ways they approach marketing and communications. I'm Nathan Pfaff, and my job is to tease out what benefits or results they've seen in their content strategy so that you can apply those to your own life or organization. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Nonprofits and Media. Tyler Riewer is someone whose work has quietly shaped how a lot of people think about storytelling in the nonprofit world. He started his career in advertising before making the jump to Charity Water, where he became one of the key creative voices behind their content for over a decade. He also hosted the Journey series, following his travels to different countries to show the impact of clean water projects, helping audiences feel like they were actually there, not just being told a story. Today, Tyler is the co-founder and CEO of Mutiny, a creative agency partnering with nonprofits to rethink how they approach branding, storytelling, and fundraising. Not just making better content, but challenging the status quo and building systems, strategies, and relationships that actually move people. In this conversation, we talk about what made the Journey series work, what was unique to Charity Water versus what's actually replicable, and how his thinking has evolved from creating content to helping organizations rethink how they connect with their audience. We also get into what nonprofits tend to get wrong when it comes to media, how to approach storytelling in a way that actually builds trust, how to reach younger generations, and why playing the long game matters more than ever. Here it is. Take a listen. So again, I first heard about you from the Journey series that Charity Water did. So I would love to know what that experience was like. Can you tell us a little bit about doing that and how that came about?
Oh my gosh, that really was one of my, it felt like the dream job for me. I moved from the for-profit advertising space where I was doing a lot of storytelling and like content creation for brands like Nike and Red Bull. But still trying to get somebody to take an action. It was a very, very different experience to come to Charity Water and you're sometimes making content that feels like that. It's like more marketing specific, but storytelling felt new to me. And I have a story in college of going abroad for the first time. I went to Rome for spring break, and a girl that I had a crush on was like, "We should get a bunch of people together and go to Rome." And I bought a ticket, and nobody else did. So I went to Rome by myself. My whole family was terrified, and the only thing I could do was go to internet cafes and send emails home to be like, "I'm still alive and here's what happened today." But people, I think because it was so many embarrassing moments, like just a very humbling, I had no money, I'm just like figuring it out there. So much of that experience felt formative when I came into Charity Water. It's like, just go have an experience and represent it for people who may never get to go to this place. And the journey was, we would go on trips, be in and out of a few communities. You know, Charity Water works with local partners. You have like a team on the ground who knows the communities, they know the area. You've got drivers and translators. You're very taken care of. And I would write emails home still. And just like at the end of the night, I would just send some laughable stories. And then we were like, should this be like, each of these emails could be a video? Should this just be a content series? And that's kind of where the conversation started. We had been figuring out, how do you scale proof? Like, how do you show 1 million people where their money went in 30-something countries around the world? And it just felt like an incredible technical challenge that we probably couldn't solve, at least at that time. And we said, if we could create a video series like this, it almost treat it like Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown, you know, and like, we didn't really script out the content. It was like, we know we want an episode that's about what it's like in the community and what it's like in Ethiopia. So this first series was 8 episodes. It's about 40 minutes. And we just went and filmed for like a week straight. We just filmed everything and then came back and kind of put it together in post and said, let's send this to everybody whose money went to Ethiopia and treat it as a form of proof. And we'll, roll them out one episode at a time and make it kind of dramatic and fun for people. And that is how it worked. I mean, I know it's not like a one-to-one connection to like the project that you funded, but you still felt like, I get to go behind the scenes. I'm following the story. I'm meeting these characters. And it just, I don't know, it struck a chord. It felt It felt so fun and special. And then it was just like, how do we play with this? What else can we do with it? Um, Charity Water for a while was had sort of like a passive recurring giving button on their website. So if you wanted to give one time, you could say, make this a recurring donation. That was the extent of recurring giving strategy for us for a
Well,
long time. And eventually we were like, well, what if we treated this more like a subscription product, and you could have a value proposition. You're giving people something that feels unique because they're part of this group of people. So that's sort of the shift that it made. So for this subscription community, which we called the Spring, we said let's go specifically talk about where spring dollars are going, and we'll go to Cambodia, and then we'll go to Ethiopia, then we'll go to Uganda, and we can travel the whole world and introduce you. And the problem's different everywhere. The challenge, the solution, like all of it is unique in every single place. Nepal, so different than Ethiopia, so different than Madagascar. So that was kind of the hope. And when we made that shift, we turned it into more of like a vlogger style. So quality, I think, went down a little bit because it was just me out there. Um, but it also was like a really good exercise in scrappiness and just like making the most of the moments. We were on those trips shooting other content, but we would add that. It would just be a layer within the trip, which made it really doable. And then we just like kept trying it out in other places. Could we build curriculum around it and give it to schools and make it really fun for kids to laugh at Tyler as he can't breathe trying to walk water up this mountain? So it felt like a gift that kept giving. It was one of my favorite things we did.
yeah, that's amazing. So a couple questions there. Did you pitch doing like the vlog series to the team or leadership, or did they kind of say, "Hey, we want to do this," and Tyler's the perfect person to host because he's had experience in previous trips or something like that? Or how did
I
that go?
think it was a little bit of both. Our founder, Scott, was like very in on this idea from the beginning. And I think I was writing those emails home. I started sending them. I didn't send them to staff. I sent them a couple people that I was friends with, but it was more like my family, my community. But I had put our founder, Scott, on the emails, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, these are good. Like, this is what we should be doing." So he was very, very foundational in that first one, like the 8 episode series. When it became a little bit more vlogger style, it was more of a like a team led idea. How can we make this doable? Because that first trip, took a lot of planning, took a lot of editing. It was just a bigger body of work, I guess. So it was like, how do we find a way to make this replicable? And that came from our team.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I respect Scott a lot for being willing to think outside the box and do different things, different type of media and all that kind of
Ugh.
stuff. So you were going to film some content and then you also filmed the vlog like on top of that. You were the original purpose of the trip was also to do other things too. Is that right? Or was the main
Yeah.
purpose the vlog and then you happened to get other content as well?
The main purpose was actually other content. So it was like we have a gala coming up, and I remember when we were in Cambodia, we were shooting something we were calling the sum of the parts. So we were trying to talk about all the pieces and parts and the team and the motorcycles, every single cost that goes into bringing clean water into a community, all the little things that you fund. And then I just knew where we were going to be and who we were going to be meeting, and just tried to build sort of a vlog series to support that same trip. So we were just capitalizing on each existing content trip just to make the most of our time.
Yeah, nice. That makes sense. So I forget like how many series there were, but you guys did it for a while, right? It is like
Yeah.
4 or 5 countries or something.
Yep. 5 total, I think.
Yeah, and back when you first started, like not very many organizations were doing episodic kind of vlog content like that. So, what were some of the things that you guys learned and what changed as you went along from like learning about how it was um performing or being yeah.
Yeah. I think the very first one felt like it needed to be scripted, and we had a lot of people in the process and thinking about what are the right themes for each episode. And it made it clunky. It made it bigger, so it was a little bit more complicated. One of the learnings was this is really like Tyler is a large part of the emotional connection here. Let's let Tyler own it a little bit more. Cry on camera, make people laugh, crack some inappropriate jokes, whatever, like just represent yourself because the more authentic it's going to be to me, I think the more fun it is for people to follow along. And that's, I was learning a ton about vlogging. I had never vlogged before. So it's like even filming selfie style with the camera, I mean, the amount of wasted footage or like stuff that I shot that never saw the light of day. For
Yeah.
me, it was like a game. I knew I had an editor back at home and I would just go shoot a bunch of stuff and then come back and tell them about what I shot. But I remember in Cambodia being like, oh, this is really funny. I'll set up the camera in my hotel room in total darkness, walk over to the window in my underwear and open the shades, and then there'll be this reveal of me standing there with my underwear. And that's how the video opens. And everybody's like, no, absolutely not. We don't need to see you in your underwear. Anyway, I think the trust gave me permission to play a lot. But it was good for everybody to be like, what? Let's just let it be a surprise. Let's just go get a little goofy or weird out there.
Yeah, I love that. It's a really interesting take because, you want to show the impact of donors and stuff like that, but you also want to personalize it. And most, I think, nonprofits would personalize it for the beneficiary and or recipient, try to put yourself in their shoes. But seeing it from like your perspective as someone who's visiting these places and seeing the impact is just a different like approach or perspective, but still one that's like allows the audience to really get invested and get
Yeah.
interested in what's happening. So
I mean, I think the nonprofit category of storytelling is often very beneficiary focused. And it's somebody on camera talking, probably in a foreign language. It can feel a little slow. You have to do work as a viewer. You have to be interested in what you're watching. When it's like a quirky guy that reminds you of your nephew, it becomes a different story. Now it's like you're living vicariously through me. I'm you. I'm new here and I'm just trying weird food and making friends and open-minded as I explore the world. And then it becomes like it's for all of us. I am you. We're the same person in this story.
yeah, I love that. It's a very unique perspective, but I think a really powerful and effective one. So one of the things that I often think about is like how much is the effectiveness of a project like that due to the fact that it's like a unique creative idea or approach, or the brand already has recognition and people are going to love the content because they already know what the brand is and stands for and stuff like that. So could you talk a little bit about like how much success is based on kind of story and content and approach versus like brand trust that's already there and already built?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think what made it kind of novel was that no nonprofit is doing this. This feels very different. It's familiar in like a Netflix sense, but I haven't seen this in regard to like an organization that I support. So I think that made it interesting. And then the rest was like the foundation of the brand made it easy to trust me, to have a lot of understanding about relationship with local partners and just kind of, I don't know, made some of the explanation easier. It was an audience of people who were like already rooting for Charity Water as a little bit of an underdog. It was like a media darling. They arrived at the right moment. Very plugged into like a tech savvy early adopter type community, and those people just wanted to root for you. So I think I personified a little bit of like the underdogness of Charity Water, and in that way, like I'm representing the brand too, and I think that was valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's like the success or the quality of the content itself, but then on the foundation of something where you don't need to explain as much, or there's certain underlying assumptions already there that
Yeah,
you can just like take and elevate. I think that's cool.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about Charity Water a little bit because I noticed on your website, your new production company Mutiny, which we'll get into in a sec, you guys fully embrace the like an ex Charity Water team, and that's part of your identity. And so I wanted to talk about that because it seems to me I've had people talk to me being like, "Oh, Charity Water is content is great, or Charity Water's media is really good. And so I wanted to ask you, like, why do you think it has that reputation when it comes to media? Are there like specific things that they did, or yeah, stuff that happened
Uh,
early?
I think from the beginning, I mean, Scott made a decision immediately that like this, he didn't belong in this space, and whatever he was going to build needed to feel different. And that really was about how do you connect people to the impact? How do you ensure that 100% of the money goes? So there was already a lot of like, how do you remove these barriers for people around trust or skepticism or whatever, and make it feel new and interesting. And then part of that was investing in good content, good storytelling, good branding, good design. I think creative director was like the third hire for Charity Water. So it was like from the beginning, there was this commitment that this is always going to be beautiful. It is always going to be thoughtful. We're going to put a ton of time and energy into everything that we share with you because it's something we love, but it's about providing value back to you. You're the one making it possible. So I think because they just consistently invested in it, that became sort of the understanding or the expectation that like anytime they put out a piece of content, I know it's going to be silly and hilarious or heartfelt or surprising or even like galas and experiences that we were providing for people. How do we do stuff that is just going to always feel different? So that's your expectation. When I get an email with a new video, I'm like, I mean, I gotta why I can't watch it now. I'm going to come back to it later, whatever. But people, it felt like required viewing.
Yeah. Um, that's so good. So let's transition a little bit to Mutiny and what you're doing now, and tell me a little bit about your production company now.
Yeah, okay. So Mutiny, I mean, the idea for Mutiny came a while back. My team, over time, I grew in my role at Charity Water, took over the team, was leading about a 15-person creative and production team. So we kind of operated a creative agency within Charity Water, and we're helping a marketing team with specific initiatives, a brand partnership team thinking about how do we provide value to these brands? How do we storytell to these brands? How do we help these brands storytell about Charity Water? Fundraising teams, programmatic teams, whoever. So we treated all of those different parts of the organization as our clients and kind of already functioned as a creative agency. I don't think any of us really wanted to move on from Charity Water ever. Like it truly felt like the best job in the world. We went remote at the start of the pandemic, which was really helpful, but also really complicated because, creative in particular is just so much more satisfying to be collaborating and working together in person. And I think Scott in particular found that really hard. And so the organization had made a decision, I don't know, last year, a little over a year ago, to move the creative team to the Nashville area to be local and get to work a little bit more hands-on. We built this experience lab, this really cool space where like families can come in and learn about the water crisis, look at dirty water under a microscope and watch a VR film and walk for water in this like surround screen. And you're walking with this little girl in Uganda while carrying a big jug of water on a treadmill. So very cool, thoughtful space. And it felt like this could be a creative hub. Let's bring the whole team here. But it wasn't very possible for many of it. A lot of people, it's like I have a house, I have a family, I rely on my mother-in-law for childcare. It just didn't make sense. So we almost everybody ended up parting with the organization under like kind of sad and unexpected terms. But in that moment, we were like, can we just keep doing what we're doing except for any nonprofit who needs the help? Can we just provide a creative service? It can be storytelling, it can be branding, it can be fundraising campaigns. Like, let's try to replicate what we were doing at Charity Water and see who else we can do it for. And I know that like social impact market exists already a little bit, but in our minds, it was there's like basic stuff around like what are the internal tools that you need to do your job well? Like a fundraising campaign is a huge initiative, but what about like a pitch deck, a branded pitch deck that's really thoughtful and beautiful? we would create templates for the team, not just with pitch decks, but all kinds of like smaller collateral or materials. Like that kind of stuff doesn't get any love, but that's pretty foundational. What if we're doing smaller budget projects for small nonprofits who just need basic help? That's kind of where it began. And now, I mean, we're coming up on a year. It's evolved a little bit. We're still figuring it out. We said this first year is going to be an experiment, and we're just going to try to build what we want to build. And if the world doesn't like it, then it won't exist a year from now, and we'll all go find other jobs. But if we get one chance to do this, like let's either run it into the ground or fly it into the sky. So that's what we're trying to do.
I love that. Man, it's crazy that it's been about a year because it feels
I
like
know.
it's been longer. So
Yeah.
I remember a friend telling me about you guys probably close to a year ago. So it must have just been when you announced or
Yeah,
launched
very
or
brand
something.
new.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow. I remember what I was gonna say earlier, and it
Oh
went
yeah.
back to, sorry, we'll bounce around a little bit.
No, you're
Uh,
in.
it went back to the how the third person hired at Charity Water was the brand or
Mhm.
media person, and I think that's so cool because I think good founders or leaders put an emphasis on the marketing and the communication of it. I remember listening to something that was like um, uh, they considered the advertising budget as part of production costs, like the cost of
Mhm.
making the product, because it was such an integral and foundational part of their product or their business being successful. And so I think it's cool that, like, Scott also has that vision of like um the media and the branding is important, and you want to make sure that that's dialed in early
Yeah.
on. So it's cool. I don't know if there's anything else to share
No,
there.
I mean, totally agree. In the beginning, I mean, he's wired that way. Like he's a natural marketer, storyteller, like very dynamic and charming presence, you know? And so he just like whatever he says, everybody gets excited about. That was true internally. I mean, as much for our staff as it was for supporters or donors or whoever else. But I think that was a big part of selling the vision for what creative could be. Storytelling, marketing, it evolved to marketing. In the beginning, we didn't have a marketing budget. Everything was, I said we were sort of like a darling and a scrappy underdog. We were getting donated space from like, or Twitter would promote us, you know. We were early on into a bunch of these social platforms. You would get a lot of love. Instagram's like, hey, we're rolling out this new feature. Do you want to be one of 5 brands who's participating in it? So you have these moments where you're getting featured, taxi toppers or like bus inventory, bus advertising inventory just gets donated to us. So we had a bunch of cool opportunities and people who just wanted to see us succeed. It probably wasn't until, I don't know, 10 years into the org that we said, should we be investing in marketing? But so much of that came from Scott. And you're right, when the founder or your leadership is excited about that, it's so much easier to make the case.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. So then, and the media team, you said you guys were basically like helping other clients that you work with rep the brand well. Like you said, you were basically an agency of sorts to your clients. Could you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So we would, so I would say like the fundraising team would come to us and say, hey, we want to host a gala at the end of the year. We have no idea what the gala should be about. We're picturing this venue. It's 400 people, you know, a lot of high net worth donors are going to be in the room. We think it's or a fundraising opportunity, but it should really be about this. And then we would say, okay, here's where we know we can go this year. Here are some cool storylines. Here's what we know is important to Charity Water in the next 2 years, what we could be talking about. Here's what we know is really relevant, like culturally or happening around the world that probably matters for when we're trying to think about the right story. So our team would help develop this gala idea and then create the content for it, not just a video, but you know, all the design and branding, yeah, invitations and whatever else. But that's just one team. So we would consider like the fundraising team a client. The brand partnerships team at Charity Water works really closely with brands who support Charity Water. So like Nautica, SmileGen. SmileGen's like this network of dental offices across the country. Aveda, Caterpillar. So these big brands who may or may not have an idea of how to tell your story. Uniqlo, they're like, okay, we have tons of stores, don't really know how to talk about you. So we make a video specifically for Uniqlo. Or Aveda, we're like, okay, but what would it look like to bring sort of a campaign into your salon spaces? And can we talk about like you got a lot of mirrors. How do you play on this idea of mirrors? Or you're using water a lot. Water's the number one ingredient in each of your products. Like what opportunities does this create for you to talk about charity water? I think that was a really big moment for charity water because they had enough of a reputation that big brands like that were coming to us. And then we had the muscle to help them tell the story well. That's like free publicity. Not everyone has that, but that was definitely a really cool part of the job.
I think that's so cool because it's kind of a win-win for both sides because you guys get to help like kind of shape how your story is told in their space. And then it's also a win for them because it makes them look really like helping like they're doing good work or whatever it is. And so it's kind of beneficial for both sides for you guys to be in that position of
Yeah.
like helping shape your story in their context. I think it's really cool. Cool.
Yeah. And you can
So
almost split the budget a little bit. Like we'll pay for part of it, you pay for part of it, everybody wins.
yeah, I love that. And everything gets elevated and higher quality.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So then with Mutiny now, you guys didn't necessarily start off with just video. You're doing, like you said, pitch decks and just kind of some more simple branding. Um, any kind of media or content help that they need help with?
Yeah, I mean it's like branding, rebranding, websites, fundraising campaigns. I mean it's really we've been open. We said we will take every phone call. We'll be open-minded to any type of project. In this first year, like that's what it's about. I still think video is one of our favorite pieces, like thinking about how you tell like a really foundational brand story or how you bring characters within the story to life in smaller short form type content. But it's expensive. It really is expensive. And at Charity Water it worked because the costs were just the hard costs of traveling somewhere and renting cars and hiring a translator or whatever. Now it's like all of that plus our time, which is time we're not spending somewhere else. So it's really tough.
Yeah. So I noticed you guys are kind of like there's a lot of slogans on your website like overthrowing the status quo or not doing traditional marketing. Your name is Mutiny. How has that approach kind of been received? And like, what are some things you're trying to do differently, like
Hmm.
right off the bat from other agencies or other?
Yeah. I mean, I think when we first sat down to talk about like what's going to make us different here, I love the idea of overthrowing the status quo just because it's like I think nonprofits, it's really easy to get stuck in a rut and you're just replicating what's been done before, or you're copying what you see happening, and you might be copying another nonprofit that's not doing good stuff. You might be copying, I don't know, something trendy that's happening in your feed from like a huge for-profit brand that you follow that maybe isn't like your lane either. So for us, it was like, we want to help nonprofits show up and compete against for profits. You shouldn't be limiting yourself to like, oh, our competition is nonprofits like us. You're not showing up in the same places as them ever. You're showing up in the same places as all these for-profit brands. So it's a little bit of like a mental reframe, raising expectations for yourself, which is hard because it may mean that you have to, generate more awareness or more clicks or more donations. But I think trying to help brands understand the value of marketing, like the way that it works, talking about the marketing funnel, walking people through the strategy, and then giving people more tools so that they can iterate on it and continue to like build and grow. Because I think the worst situation is that you would hire us to do a video, we would come deliver a video and then walk away. I would much rather say, okay, we're going to give you a content library. We're going to give you a plan for how you use this. We're going to train you on some AI tools so you know how to make some of this more efficient or do it with fewer people. Like if we can help brands, nonprofit brands think differently or work differently, just like it's what Scott was doing at Charity Water. If I can help reshape the way you think about marketing, that's a bigger win. And it's not about more budget for us. It's just about seeing people do better.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so true that so often they do get pretty narrow focused and, like you said, get stuck in a rut. And to help them see, like, hey, you can compete with for profits, not just in the nonprofit space or something like that, is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there something that you guys are trying to implement right off the bat that you've seen work, or yeah, that you know is successful for nonprofits that you're trying to implement right away with some of the brands or nonprofits you're working with?
Um, that's a great question. We've been doing more, this is new for us, but we've been doing more insights like audience research. And Charity Water did some of this within the marketing team, and that's maybe more like A/B testing, maybe some like focus groups or user research. But we wanted almost like a better understanding of donor mentality or potential donor mentality. Um, so we the past few months we've been doing a bunch of qualitative and quantitative research, trying to understand with Americans in particular, like what our relationship looks like with charity today. How do we feel about generosity? How do we feel about trust? How is what's happening in the world shaping us? How does our upbringing shape us? What do we want or expect out of nonprofits in the future? So I mean that's been insightful and inspiring because it just gives you hard information to take to people. It's like the trust is an issue, but trust is an issue everywhere. That's not necessarily a charity problem. So we need to think about trust, but maybe not be afraid of it in the way that we're currently afraid of it. But having that data to point to at least gives you something sound to take to a client and start building on, so there's maybe more shared understanding or expectations for where we're going or what it could look like.
Wow, that's huge. I love that because the data for the audience is so powerful. I used to work in an ad agency where their whole business model was they would throw out a video and then track the data of what the engagement
Mm.
was like. And then they would take that same video, modify it, tweak it slightly, throw it back out, and keep honing and honing and honing based on the data of the audiences that it was going to. And I think so often nonprofits or other companies will just like do a video, throw it out to the wind, hope it sticks, but they're not actually like tracking, like you said, like what are people interested in? What is their historical context of some of these things? And so I think that's amazing that you guys are helping brands looking at some of those data points to be more effective.
Yeah, and to understand it better. I think a big part of us in starting this was like we don't want like performative behavior. We don't want like strategy theater in a conversation with clients. We don't want to weaponize almost like data research or talk down to clients about marketing and kind of bully them into these. We would rather like help them understand, bring them along, help them learn something so they can continue to maintain it on their own. But I mean, for us, it really comes down to like we just want to be having the most amount of fun, and we want our clients to feel the same way. Like that, we ran this awesome campaign. We learned a whole bunch. We have ideas for future hires. Like this was so much bigger than like a one project type of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So you're about 1 year in now. What have you learned? Like, is there anything that you're realizing where you're like, oh, maybe your thinking has evolved since the Charity Water days or anything like that?
Yeah, gosh, so much. On this research front, I so I came from the for-profit advertising world and brought like all of this like the marketing funnel idea into Charity Water with me. Quickly found that the traditional marketing funnel maybe doesn't apply to nonprofits in the same way, right? Like it's not um it's not loyalty that we're working toward. It's not I'm not trying to create an easy transactional relationship with you. When you make a donation, I don't give you anything in return. You're just freely giving away your money. So the way that I'm building a relationship with you is not like you're going from like action to purchase to loyalty. It's about going from empathy to trust to belief to purpose, right? So my end game is about making you feel like water matters to you so that you, whether you support charity water or not, you can be a champion for clean water around the world. That's the win. It's not like, oh, I'm a repeat customer. That we kind of formalized that a little bit when we were at Charity Water, and then we even brought that into Mutiny. It was like this is a really compelling thing to share with clients as we're trying to educate them about how this works, and they understand a strategy that's built around empathy or a strategy that's built around trust, and you can see how people are progressing in their relationship. But doing all this research, I'm starting to realize that it's just not that black and white or like not that linear for a lot of people. Somebody might not need anything more than like one interaction. They might not need a whole bunch of touch points and to be nurtured from empathy to trust or whatever. It might just be like, oh, I heard one thing and I trusted it. And trust is what matters to me. And I made a donation. Like I may make one huge donation out of the blue. I might be the kind of person who tests the organization by making a small donation to see what the comms experience is like and then decides whether they want to give more. But everybody's so different and I could have more in common. It used to be that it was like, oh, you're 44, you're a white guy, you're married, you live in a house of like this is your income level. I know exactly who you are. Now, I would say even as those same demographic qualities, I might have more in common with like an 85-year-old black woman in Minnesota than I do with somebody who lives next to me, right? It's just not that easy. So even the idea of a funnel feels a little broken to me. And I've been trying to think about how we reframe it. Is it more like a transit map where you have all these different points and you may just need to ride this trust train and you can ride from here and here and explore all these little trust stops, or you can switch to a different train. Maybe you want to switch to the empathy train. I know this is confusing. It's very visual. I don't even know that it works, but it's something more like that. People have more agency or choice. People need a lot. Some people need a little. So I don't even know if the funnel's the thing anymore, or at least it's a very permeable funnel. But a long way to say that I think we need to be treating donors less like a cash grab and treating them more like humans, providing thoughtful experiences and relationship and just trying to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like needing to customize it for the individual as opposed to treating everybody like this general herd that is just going down the line, you know.
Yes. Yep.
That's really cool. I love the clarity you brought to like the different funnels though between a for-profit to get to brand loyalty and then the different things of building trust in a space where it you don't have a product that you're giving back, and it is more about like kind of the emotions or experience that you're bringing to the donor. So that's really cool. I've never heard about it explained in those terms before, but I think you're right where now it's almost like brands and nonprofits need to think less about like here's this linear line that we're trying to encourage everybody to walk down, and more like how do we meet people where they're at, give them what they're looking for. And we now have the tools with like data analytics and all those kinds of things to where it's like maybe this person only needs one step, they're going to stop here or go up the line here, and then the next person is going to need, and so I think that's really cool to think in those terms, and we now have the means to be able to do it with social media and whatever else.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, the tools work in our favor. So much of it is like scary to think about. You're just like, I don't know where to start. AI feels that way, storytelling feels that way. If you're a nonprofit team of four, you're like, but which one of us does this stuff? So I get how hard that feels. But the answer is really like just try to create authentic connection. Treat each person like that person. Know as many people as you can. Make it
Yeah.
feel personal. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. On the flip side, is there anything that you're seeing nonprofit media do that you don't like or think is bad or detrimental or anything like that? What would you encourage nonprofits to not do or stop doing?
Uh, man, I I think there's maybe a temptation to think about like the one piece of content that's going to save us. Like when we plan a marketing, not we, like when anybody's planning a marketing budget, they're often thinking, let's come up with the idea and then put the budget against it. I almost think we're at a place where you know that the budget's important. Put a budget there, no matter what it is, and then go figure out what content you can make with it. But don't put all your eggs in one video basket. Like try to think about, I mean, we think about it more as like a content library. And it's just like maximizing those journey trips. We're not just going to shoot one thing. We're going to build out all of these additional like cut downs and fun little social series. And it's more work, but if you're organized, you can turn one content trip into years worth of content. So I think it's maybe more about committing the money and then figuring out what you can build with it. And then the creatives that you bring in to help with it, like creatives love those challenges. Those constraints are like creative problem solving, so that it just gives you more to play with. A $5,000 budget might be as exciting as a $100,000 budget. It might be less scary. So I don't think there's a bad place to start. Don't tell yourself you don't have enough money or that you can't figure it out.
Yeah, that's really cool. Something I encourage nonprofits to do is repurpose a lot of their stuff. It kind of goes along with like, don't just put it into one project or one bucket, but like figure out how you can use that same material in different ways, tweak it slightly, repurpose it, throw it back out again. Just because you've released some content doesn't mean that everybody's seen it or even like
Yeah.
really grasp it. So give it to them
Yep.
again, dribble it out in bites or like repurpose it in different ways. And again, like you said, I think it's cool. Creatives love that kind of constraints to like figure out how to make it as best as it can be. So
Just the best, what's the best use of this money? And it might, I mean, some of it could be strategic. You might know that you need to put it towards paid or whatever, but there's always room to play. And even if I had $5,000 and I was putting it toward paid, I may say, okay, how many 3-second videos could I make with $5,000 and then invest in like pre-roll YouTube clips? It's like that's a quirky little strategy, but that might be a great use of $5,000. What does it look like to come up with a bunch of different ways to spend $5,000? That's so fun.
yeah, that's a good like different way of thinking about it that I don't think people gravitate to. I love that. I love that. Um, is there something you guys are intentionally, again, kind of going with the guardrails thing, that you're not doing that other nonprofits or agencies tend to do, like again, like a constraint in a way that you're trying to overthrow the status quo? What are some things you're intentionally not doing?
Oh, ooh. Um, I mean, as an internal team, I think there's a lot of stuff that we just like marketing principles that we reject. I don't think you should be doing faux personalization. People like create email segments and then, you can fill in the blank with somebody's name or what, try to talk to this group of people like they're all the same. People see right through that. That doesn't feel authentic or personal to anyone. So, um, there's a bunch of little stuff like that. Like we don't buy into that. We don't do it. Um, Maybe from like a bigger perspective, everything that we're making is especially video, but even like a fundraising campaign or a brand campaign, we're trying to make people feel something. And I see so many nonprofits that make the content about themselves, about the product that they're selling, about maybe the impact of it. That's at least like a little bit beneficial for me as a viewer. But people forget that the only thing you should be focused on is making it valuable for the person who's on the other side. It shouldn't be about you. It should be about them. And then let them come up with the idea of how they can help or like wanting to help. What do I do with these feelings? Make people feel feelings and then be ready to give them things to do with those feelings. But I think so much of it comes back to, yeah, just not making it about you. This is kind of a random example, but I was talking to somebody the other day in one of these interviews, the qualitative interview, and they were saying, I get so frustrated when I go into a grocery store and the grocery store is asking me to round up at the counter for a charity. And I was like, oh, I mean, it feels so harmless. It's like 13 cents goes to this charity. And they're like, yeah, but why is Whole Foods asking me to give more of my money? I'm literally writing Whole Foods a check right now. Why does Whole Foods need me to top it off with a donation from Whole Foods, who's probably getting a tax break from it? And I was like, okay, this is interesting, but it's a very valid point. If Whole Food wants to do that, do it with your money. Do it with the money that you just took from my purchase. Don't make me add to it. Anyway, I hadn't really thought about that before, but I think nonprofits are kind of doing the same thing. We're trying to make our problem everyone else's problem and then asking them to help solve it. Instead of saying like, here's a feeling we don't know what to do with. What do you want to do with it? Just like let people come to their own conclusion about helping. I don't know, don't work so hard to make it about you.
Yeah, that Whole Foods example is a really interesting one. Also the the faux personalization thing I really like because conventional wisdom would say, yeah, you want to personalize it, you want to like have the person feel seen or known or whatever. But I think it's so true, and especially with younger generations, that they see through the like fake authenticity. Everybody wants the content to be authentic, but they don't want it to like be fake authentic, and they have this like sense about that, and like little faux personalizations where even it's just your name, like we're trying to treat you like one person even though it's this mass email blast that's going out to everybody with the same thing or something like that.
Yeah.
I think is a really good way of like conventional wisdom would say this, but like you have to keep the how your content is being perceived and how you're being authentic in mind, and especially now for like modern audiences,
Mhm.
you just want to be aware of that when doing new content.
Yeah. We keep optimizing and like with good intentions. It's for like our own efficiency and maximizing the limited dollars we have, but we're optimizing ourselves out of relevance. Like you are ruining relationships with people by showing them that you don't actually know. The print shows up smaller in the email. It's like, "Hey, Tyler." Like, okay, so that
Yeah.
now that's very obvious. It's just it's little stuff. I had talked to another guy the other day who's like, I give to the same organization every year. I give on the same day. I give one big gift. It's an annual gift. And I continue to get emails from them that are like, hey, join monthly giving. Hey, do this. And he's like, how do you not know? This is my donor behavior. This is a choice. This is what I'm locked in on. Can you just be appreciative of the relationship that we have? Why do you have to keep squeezing me for
Totally.
more? Like you don't even know me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Why do you think many nonprofits still struggle with good storytelling? Like in this day and age where there's so much available to us, AI, good consumer
Yeah.
tools to use and stuff like that. Like, why do you think nonprofits are still struggling to share their stories well with donors?
I don't know if this is the right answer, but I think it's hard and scary. And for me, when I think about storytelling, I think there's probably two types. There's like a scripted storytelling, which probably requires like vision and taste and some thoughtfulness in what you're going to produce, and then actually producing it and making sure that you can actually replicate the visions. You might have something that looks great on paper that looks terrible when you film it. So like there's a lot of skill in filming something scripted. Unscripted seems like it should be easier. And this is a lot of what we would do at Charity Wire. You travel to Ethiopia, you're in a small community, you have a sense of, I know what the problem was before. I know that people were walking a long distance and families were getting sick. I know that our local partner provides a solution in the middle of the community and this is how it works. So I have some ideas of like that's the before and after, but that's not, I don't know anybody here. I don't know who has compelling stories about the walk for water or the impact of having poor health. So now you have to be incredibly patient and like incredibly curious and go ask a ton of questions. You got to build relationship with people. I almost think of it as like slow food in a fast food world. Like nobody wants to sit down for a 4 hour meal. Nobody has the patience for it. But that's what it freaking takes to do storytelling. And I don't think people know where to begin or how to do it. And that relationship piece, I think, is such a huge part of it. When we would show up in a community, people would know we're coming. We have this local partner relationship. So we're traveling with people that they know. They know we're coming. The entire community gathers. We sit down, we explain our purpose, our intention, what we're going to be doing, how we're going to use the content. We don't have cameras out at all. It's just purely about relationship. We ask some questions. People in the audience stand up and share some stories. They ask questions. We get to explain. So everybody feels good about like we're all in on this. We're doing this together. If you want to opt out, please feel free to opt out. There's no pressure. So now we have like a really good baseline, but we're still spending like days just still not filming anything, just asking questions. I don't think most people have the patience to find a story. Maybe that's what it is. It's not just storytelling. It's also story planning and story finding and story building before you get to storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, and putting in the work is hard and time consuming and stuff like that, but it's so
Yeah.
necessary. I often think of it like um, a lot of times they get focused on their mission, which is really good, but they don't figure out how to translate that and share that with others. So it's like
Mm,
you want to learn the personal impacts that you're having with the people, the beneficiaries, whatever, so that you can share that with others to get others involved. Like they don't a lot of times leaders don't realize that like the sharing of the work is sometimes more impactful than like the work itself, and you need both obviously, but like they don't think about
totally agree.
the sharing their story in a way that is
Yeah.
accompanying the actual mission. They just focus on the mission, which is good, but you got
Yeah,
to say that for audiences.
totally agree. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah. Um, how do you think that nonprofits can, this is a kind of out of the blue. How do you think nonprofits can reach the younger generations? Because I think you and I have both probably seen where older generations have a lot more value for giving the non-traditional funnels we were talking about, like building trust, giving their donations, whereas younger generations I think are a little more skeptical. They have that like authenticity meter, stuff like that. So what are ways that you think nonprofits can specifically target younger generations, um
Yeah.
and how to do that? Yeah.
I love that question, and that's part of what we're spending a lot of time with Gen Z in particular, trying to understand what does the future of nonprofits look like. I think it's a generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, both like very much wired for I am upset about the current situation because I feel powerless. So much is broken, I can't change any of it. We're talking about climate change like it's the end of the world. I can do very little. I can wash my dishes with the water not running. I can take a shorter shower. I can contribute. I can carbon offset when I take a plane ride. But those are like drops in the bucket. So I think it's a generation that is a little fired up and ready to see some change. I think they stand to be very, very philanthropic or like impactful in their choices. I don't think they think of giving money as the solution. I think they see these problems and they say, I would love to help. I will come volunteer at the food pantry. They care a lot about local, taking a role in their community, getting to see the impact of what they're doing firsthand. I want to go hand out meals at the soup kitchen. I want to go stock shelves in the clothing store for people to come in and buy thrifted clothes because they get to see people keep saying like I just love to see the expression on someone's face. I love getting to talk to people and hear, what this meant to them. And I think all of us can relate to that feeling like you buy a Christmas gift for somebody during the holidays that doesn't have money to afford gifts for their own family, and like that feels so much more satisfying than making a $20 donation on a website. So I think what they're craving is more of like feeling tied to giving, and it's really, really it's in person, um, or it's through an existing purchase. Like, let me buy, let me buy this like boutique dress that I know was hand sewn by this women's collective in Ethiopia, because I know some of that money goes back to these ladies and funds more types of handicrafts and whatever else. So I think younger people are thinking about that. How can I be influential with the money that I'm already spending, or how can I go get my hands dirty to help? But I think if we just keep asking people for money, our money is going to go down and down.
Man, I think you nailed it. I had someone else say that like younger generations aren't wealthy in money, but they are wealthy in time and influence, and they're very happy to give their influence, but not like you said, they're not just looking to hand out cash like maybe older
Yeah.
generations are. They're wanting to get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
Um, and so encouraging or finding ways that nonprofits can do that and invite people in and like help out is huge. I think that's awesome.
It's an even bigger opportunity. They literally like it's not a passive donation. I don't give once a year because I like to feel good or get a tax write-off. I like to show up in my community and be present and help people. That's like a dream come true.
That's yeah, better. Yeah.
how are we not putting those people to work?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it just becomes customizable to like how each organization can do that, can bring people
Yeah.
into their mission. Because I think you're right. The younger generations are looking to get involved. They're looking for those experiences.
Yeah.
So that's really
Yeah.
amazing.
It's pretty fun. It's been very encouraging having some of these conversations and just hearing the way young people think. People who are like, yeah, I always carry like 6 bottles of water with me to hand out if I see somebody who's living on the street. Like, what forward-thinking kindness. That's amazing. I always carry a little extra food or some water.
That's
We
awesome.
we could be in a really good place as a country. I think we have some work to do, but everybody wants to do good, aspires to do more good than they're doing. We want to help each other. We want to see each other succeed. There's a lot to be hopeful about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to mention that we haven't talked about yet? Any other advice you might have that you tend to tell some of the organizations you work with?
Oh man, advice. I don't know. I mean, coming back to like storytelling, just don't overthink it. Just like go out there and make some like production value is not nearly as important as doing something. And then just treat it like an experiment. The more content you're creating, the better, period. It doesn't all need to be perfect. It doesn't all need to land. It's a long, like the game that we're playing from a brand awareness perspective is a long game. It's going to take showing up many, many times without asking for money before somebody ever thinks, "Oh, I have a little extra money. You know who I really like." So you just have to remember that you're chipping away. You're building relationship. You're making people feel things, and you're just teeing people up to take an action when they're ready for it.
Yeah, that's good. Playing the long game is
Yeah.
hard, takes time, but it's worth it in the
Yeah.
end. So
Yeah, I know. Hard to quantify too.
yeah. Cool. Well, hey, Tyler, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh,
I
great chatting with you, Nathan. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, it really gets me fired up because I'm like, man, there are other people out there that like have the same passion and are trying to help and make or a difference or help these organizations that are making a difference. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I love it too. I had a really good team at Charity Water, and we would be going, you travel somewhere, you're in Malawi, and you're just riding, you have like 4 hour long car rides, you get a lot of downtime, then you're in communities and you're just constantly inspired. Those were the places you would come back with like 100 ideas for things that you want to do. So if people are looking for places to dig in, like go just spend some time watching the work, and that'll be a forever source of inspiration.
Yeah, and whenever they get involved or have those experiences, they get even more fired up and like you said, figuring out
Yeah.
ways to what to do with that and
Yeah.
other ways to help. So
And the
cool.
same dynamic where you're just excitedly talking to somebody and getting each other more excited.
Get pumped up. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our channels for future content. It really helps us out. This podcast is brought to you by Travelite Studios. Travelite is a full-service film production company that specializes in documentary and promotional videos for your nonprofit. We are a multicultural team of award-winning creatives with a passion to help organizations grow their reach. We can be your media team or work alongside your media team to deliver captivating content that energizes your audience. Travelite takes the time to truly get to know you and your needs and includes extra tools to help make your videos be the most powerful they can be. Go to travellightstudios.com right now to plan a project and have your story and solutions presented to viewers in a beautifully compelling way. That's travellightstudios.com.